Right now, some part of your mind is already somewhere else. Maybe it's your phone. Maybe it's a sound in the next room. Maybe it's a thought that has nothing to do with this video. You didn't choose this. It just happened. And you've probably blamed yourself for it 1,000 times. But the real answer is far stranger than a lack of willpower. Your brain was never built to focus on one thing for long. It was built to notice everything. For most of human history, that wasn't a flaw. It was survival. Picture your ancestors on the savannah 60,000 years ago. A rustle in the grass, a shift in the wind, a shadow crossing the sun. None of these things were distractions back then. Each one might be the difference between eating dinner and becoming it. A brain that locked onto a single task and ignored everything else was a brain that didn't last long enough to pass on its genes. So evolution built you a mind that scans, constantly, automatically, whether you want it to or not. Psychologists call this hypervigilance, and it isn't a disorder. It's the default setting. Your ancestors who startled easily, who glanced up at every sound, who couldn't help but track movement at the edge of their vision. Those were the ones who survived long enough to have children. You are, quite literally, the descendant of the fidgety ones. The alert ones, the ones who couldn't sit still and just focus. Here's the strange part. That same wiring is still running inside your skull today. Except now, instead of scanning a grassland for lions, it's scanning a bedroom for notifications. Neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz spent decades studying a chemical called dopamine, and what he found reshaped how scientists understand attention itself. Dopamine isn't a reward chemical, not exactly. It's a prediction chemical. It spikes not when something good happens, but when something unexpected might happen. A new piece of information, an unpredictable outcome. A maybe. Your phone is a maybe machine. Every time you unlock it, your brain doesn't know what's waiting. A message, a like. Nothing at all. That uncertainty is exactly what dopamine evolved to chase. Your ancestors' brains lit up the same way when they heard an unfamiliar sound in the brush. Was it food? Was it danger? The uncertainty itself was the hook. You're not weak for checking your phone 40 times a day. You're running 400,000-year-old software on a piece of technology engineered quite deliberately to exploit it. But there's more to this than dopamine. Economist and cognitive scientist Herbert Simon saw this coming decades before smartphones existed. Back in 1971, he wrote something that sounds almost like a prophecy. He said that in an information-rich world, the scarce resource isn't information anymore. It's attention. Information consumes attention. The more there is to look at, the less of you is left to look at any single thing. Simon was writing about newspapers and television. He had no idea what was coming. Today, you carry more information in your pocket than existed in every library on Earth when he wrote those words. Your attention hasn't gotten stronger to match it. If anything, it's being pulled thinner than it has ever been pulled in the history of the species. Think about that for a second. Your attention span isn't broken. It's being divided among more competing signals than any human brain has ever had to process at once. So what does this cost you? Researcher Gloria Mark, who has spent over a decade tracking how people actually use their attention at work, found something remarkable. In the early 2000s, the average person could focus on a single screen for about 2.5 minutes before switching away. By the 2020s, that number had dropped to under 50 seconds. And here's the part that stings. It isn't just outside interruptions pulling you away. Mark's research found that a huge portion of those switches are self-interruptions. You pull yourself away. Nobody buzzes your phone. You just reach for it anyway. Why would you sabotage your own focus? Because focus, to your ancestral brain, can be dangerous. A hunter-gatherer who tunneled in on one task, grinding a seed, sharpening a stone, while ignoring everything else around them, was a hunter-gatherer who might not notice the predator approaching from behind. Deep, sustained focus is a luxury your brain never fully trusted. Some part of it is always keeping a door open, always leaving a little attention on reserve, just in case, that door never fully closes. Not for you. Not for anyone. Here's where it gets even more uncomfortable. Anthropologist Robert Kelly, who studied hunter-gatherer societies for decades, found that foraging peoples didn't spend their days locked into single tasks the way modern work demands. Their attention moved constantly between the plants they were gathering, the children nearby, the terrain underfoot, the horizon. Divided attention wasn't a weakness in that world. It was the whole strategy. You watched everything a little, instead of watching one thing a lot. Modern life asks something your biology was never designed to give. 8 hours on one screen, one task, one tab, one meeting. Uninterrupted. To your ancient nervous system, that isn't focus. That's a strange, almost unnatural kind of stillness, one that would have gotten a person killed 100,000 years ago, and yet you blame yourself when you can't do it. You call it laziness. You call it a broken attention span. You download apps to fix yourself. But you were never broken. You were simply never built for a world that demands single-threaded attention from a brain engineered for constant, wide-angle scanning. Consider this too. Every ping, every red notification dot, every autoplay countdown was designed by people who understand this ancient wiring better than you do. They know about Schultz's dopamine research. They know about uncertainty and reward. Entire teams of engineers and designers spend their careers building tools that speak directly to the hunter-gatherer still living inside your skull, the one who can't ignore a possible signal in the grass. You're not fighting a lack of discipline. You're fighting a system built by people who studied your instincts more carefully than you ever have. So what do you actually do with this? Understanding doesn't fix everything, but it changes how you see it. The next time your hand drifts toward your phone mid-task, that isn't failure. That's 400,000 years of survival instinct, mistaking a glowing rectangle for a rustle in the grass. You can't delete that instinct. Nobody can. But you can start recognizing it for what it is instead of mistaking it for a personal flaw. Some researchers suggest working with this wiring instead of against it. Short bursts of deep focus, followed by real breaks where your eyes are actually allowed to scan and wander, may fit your evolved attention system better than forcing hours of unbroken concentration ever could. Your ancestors didn't focus for 8 straight hours either. They worked in bursts, rested, scanned, and worked again. Maybe the goal was never to become a machine that ignores everything except one task. Maybe the goal is to understand the ancient animal running your attention and stop punishing it for doing exactly what it evolved to do. Right now, some part of your mind is already somewhere else, and now you know exactly why.